Good evening, guys, and happy Tuesday to all of your sunshiny faces. Well, guys, I was not expecting to be home today because I told you guys how yesterday my aunt actually said that she was going to have to reschedule with the whole, me going over there for a few nights to try and get all of her photos organized. And so I was not planning on being home until Thursday, but I was home today. So I ended up getting to kind of everything, like until I found out yesterday that I wasn't going. I ended up, like, I wasn't planning on really like doing a whole ton other than to just kind of like get the things sort of caught up with that I needed to before I left, like to make sure that kind of like dishes were caught up with the laundry, at least for the most part. So like I said, I was just, not completely caught up, but at least, a little bit more manogeable too. I tried to get that done more, which was again kind of my goal, and then like to get myself packed and all that kind of stuff for tomorrow, or what I was doing yesterday for today, which was tomorrow. So that was my plan. Then again, when she called and said that she had to reschedule, I was just like, okay, I'll wind up getting to, again, I edited yesterday. I ended up editing again today. I did dishes and laundry also. I uploaded today. I ended up not getting a whole ton of stuff done, but one of the big things that me and Jack have kind of, I guess, made a little bit of a game plan as far as tomorrow goes, because Jack was off of school yesterday. He went back to school today, and he had, I want to say they had weightlifting, because I think they normally do it on Mondays, but maybe because there was no school they did it today. But he didn't get home at like his normal time, and it was fun to see because Matthew actually went to go and meet with the high school football coach today, and when he did that, he saw Jack lifting in like the weight room. So I think normally they do it like Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, but maybe because of the day off they're doing it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday or something like that, which again I guess kind of makes a little bit more sense. But anyways, so again, Jack will most likely have to work out tomorrow. So what he said, he was like, if I'm not super sore, we can try and get one of the things that we need to kind of get done again, is because everything in the upstairs is all going to have to be moved out and taken care of. Like, we're not going to be able to have any furniture left up there. So one thing we have to do is kind of figure out where everything is upstairs, and there's a lot of just like clutter and things like that upstairs, and so we need to get that moved. We need to, again, find a place to at least temporarily store some of that stuff, if not permanently store some of it that might not even supposed to be up there, and again in a different spot. So like me and Jack were like, okay, well, let's work underneath your bed. So Jack was like, well, I have like sheets and like pillowcases and stuff like that, and like I guess a little tote or something like that under his bed. And I was like, okay, we have a big tote in the attic full of all that stuff. Why don't we just make sure that that gets put into the attic, and we can go through that. And then he's like, I also have a lot of school papers under my bed. And I was like, okay, well, why don't you go through those school papers and go through them and figure out what you still want to keep and what you want to get rid of, so that we're not keeping again boxes and boxes and boxes worth of school papers. And I guess Matthew also has some boxes that somehow got underneath Jack's bed, and now he has like school papers from when Matthew was in school that are under his bed. And so I was like, okay, well then, again, we'll put those on Matthew's side of the room. When he comes home, he'll need to take care of those kind of things. So anyways, like that was kind of our plan. And he said depending on how sore he feels tomorrow after weightlifting, like we can clean the hole underneath the bed, or we can try and just get to, I said, let's try and at least get to one box, because even if you're sore, hopefully, like I can even get the box out from underneath his bed and just give it to him for him to go through of like his school papers. And I was like, let's just go through one of those. And then he's like, well, how about also too, can you figure out where the sheets and the bedding and stuff like that's supposed to go, and put it in the attic? And I was like, okay, that's fine. And like we can start and work from there, because like Jack was kind of getting frustrated too. He's like, I don't know where this stuff is supposed to go, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do with these things. And I was like, you don't even realize we already have bins established in the attic full of like old school papers, like again bedding and stuff like that again we have excess of, that we keep up in the attic. Like my parents, I think, have a tote of all of their extra bedding, and then like there's one for like that's just more like the twin size stuff, which is like mine, Matthew, and Jack's, although I keep my own bedding and a very small tiny little tote actually in my closet as well, just because it's the stuff that I use, so I don't like want them pulling stuff out. But normally they'll wind up like, I think each of them have like a couple sets of like bedding anyway, but you know, like if it's just like, oh, it's just a gray, you know, again, sheet set or whatever, like Matthew could use it or Jack could use it, whatever. But like I said, mine, even though mine is also gray, I do normally wind up having like I said, like my stuff separately from, you know, again, what they'll wind up using. So like I have got I've actually only have 2 sets of bedding, like 2 sets of like sheet sets, so that again, when I have one that I'm using, I can wash the other one, and then, you know, when that one's dirty, and then switch them out. But I also have that flannel like sheet set that I just got for Christmas this year, so that's the other one that I have in my closet too. So like I was saying, I, you know, will only have just like I said, those, but they have a lot of access to in the attic. So I was also like, honestly, we might need to kind of just like purge some of the stuff and just be like, okay, like you don't wind up, like I think Jack has got like Mario like bedding too, from when he was like, you know, elementary school, middle school aged or something like that, maybe even SpongeBob stuff. And I was like, that's probably stuff that you're not gonna have on your bed anymore. So like those kind of things he can probably wind up just, you know, like donating because he's probably not gonna wind up using that much anymore. So again, some of that more like the kids stuff, I'm thinking that we can probably just again go through and possibly donate some of that, and we don't have to have that in the attic. But I don't know entirely what's underneath his bed. So again, we have to go through that, and also, you know, like I said, the at least 1 box worth of school stuff is what our goal is for tomorrow. And I also have got a box full of my school papers that I need to go through too. But again, that is like, me and Jack are probably gonna again maybe put on like a YouTube video or something like that, work for like, I'm gonna say it's gonna be no more than like 30 minutes probably. And again too, it depends. If he's like doesn't feel sore after working out, we might just again go through the whole thing and, you know, again, just keep working up there until the hole underneath his bed is all taken care of. Because again, the attic is like the first parts, well, not the attic, but the bedroom is like the first part. The attic is also semi first part too. We have to get the attic organized so that we can, again, in this situation, he has bedding. I need to be able to get to the bedding to put that stuff away. He's got school papers. I need to be able to get to the school papers to put that stuff away. Like again, we've got like, you know, again, all that kind of stuff stored in the attic, but I just need to, now that it's organized and cleaned, but there's still a couple little sections in the attic that are not exactly how I want them right now. And so I still need to finish up on a couple of those things too and get those done. So the other thing too is that I found some papers that I think needed to be shredded that were in like another little bin in the attic that we'd set aside, because I told you guys that my dad couldn't find his paper shredder he got last Christmas. And so we ended up setting them aside so that we could end up shredding them. And now that we have the paper shredder, I need to double check and make sure that those are papers that actually need to be shredded, because I don't want to be shredding nothing that's important and we still need it. So like I said, if I can double check that with him, like that can be a project where I can do during the day on my own and just like, again, turn on, you know, some music or turn on some, you know, TV show or whatever, and just kind of like work at the same time and get that stuff done. Because that's what I did when I was shredding that big bulk of papers that my dad had before. I was watching, I think, like football games on the Sunday and was just shredding papers away, you know. And that's another thing too that I probably want to do, like I can do during the day when just my mom's home, because trying to do it on the weekends, it's a little bit noisy. It's actually not really that loud. I don't know if it really wake my mom up, but again too, because she sleeps because of working night shifts, again, that might wind up coming into, you know, a little bit of a conflict there with her, you know, sleep schedule. So I wouldn't want to do that and like end up waking her up. So like I said, that's something really good that I can do just on my own, and I don't need to, again, have anybody else to do that. I know how to shred the papers. I can do that myself. I just need to double check that those are the ones that are supposed to be shredded. And again too, there's again a handful of other little things too. Like we have got some loose board games up in the attic that I wanted to keep. My dad ended up getting a shelving unit that we had in the garage originally. He ended up bringing it inside and it's up in the attic, and so I wanted to keep all of our like board games on there. But right now they're kind of, again, strewn around a little bit on top of things in like other boxes and stuff like that. I want to get them all organized on that shelf, you know, again, and that way when we want to play a board game, we can just run up to the attic, grab one of the board games, and then, you know, again, come back downstairs and play it. Also too, because our closet, our linen closet, which is where we keep a lot of our board games, it's overflowing, like there's stuff falling out. So I'm honestly thinking too, I'm wondering if I want to, I don't know, maybe actually get rid of the board games that are in the hall closet, or like front hall closet, and just store them permanently in the attic, because there's no one game that I'd say like, oh, we really play this a lot more than the other one or something like that. Like if we do, we're like, oh, what board game do we want to play? And if we have half of them in the attic and half of them in the closet, then we'll only ever be playing those ones. And so I'm kind of thinking I might want to do that, and then better organize our hall closet might be a little bit of a smarter idea. Just because we don't, like I said, we don't play board games all that often enough to need to have them stored in the closet for like easy access, when it'd just be almost, honestly, because of the climb of having to get into the top shelf in that that closet, it'd honestly probably be easier just to be able to walk into the attic, grab one off the shelf, and then walk back out, instead of trying to like get a chair or step ladder, you know, something like that, to be able to climb up into the closet. And on top of that too, there's no light in the closet. There's also no light in our little like foyer sort of area that's like bright enough that if it's at night, we can actually see really well into that closet. So like I said, it's kind of a little bit of a pain. I think it'd just be easier and make more sense to, again, store all of those things in one spot. I hate that. Like, unless there's something that you do legitimately use a lot, I hate having things like in like, oh, we store part of this in like this, you know, section of the house. We store, you know, like store part of this stuff, you know, in the other section of the house. Like, again, in the example of board games or whatever, like I can see sometimes more with like kitchen appliances. Like we store some of our ones that don't get used as much in the laundry room, like our roasting, you know, pots and things like, or roasting pans, like those, we normally only use those like a couple times a year. But like my crock pot, I normally wind up using that 3 to 4 times at least a week. So that's something that, again, I need easy access to. The roasting pans, not so much. So like I was saying, you know, those kind of things, like that kind of makes sense. But like for us, like board games, again, if there's maybe a board game you play a lot, maybe you would leave them in like the separate sections of the house. But like for, again, us, it doesn't make sense to like, oh, well, like we'll split, we'll have some of the stuff there, we'll have some of the stuff, you know, again, in the other, you know, in the attic and stored there or whatever. It's just like that, it doesn't make sense unless it's like, you know, like I was telling you guys too, how like when we, you know, like we cleaned out underneath our sink, we had an overflow a little bit of some of our extra cleaning products, so we ended up storing them in a tote in our crawl space because it's like temperature controlled down there. So like, again, that makes sense because we have like one of everything up here. We're not like, oh no, like we stored all of the hand soaps underneath the sink and all of the dish soaps are in the crawl space. Like we split everything. So again, it was all kind of, you know, even. It was just the excess got stored in the crawl space. But like I said, with like board games, it's not like we're like, oh, like we'll keep the, you know, duplicates of board games in the attic and the other ones downstairs. It's like we kind of, again, and there's not ones that I'd say we play more often than others that we'd be like, oh, you know, like we need to store those in the attic versus store them in the closet. And that hall closet too, it could be, I think, better utilized for our like mittens and hats and things like that too. We need a little bit better storage, I feel like, in there, and I don't know, it doesn't work super well. I don't know, maybe we'll keep them in there. But we also store all of our like birthday stuff in the closet, which I can understand because there are some candles that are kept in there, you know, like number candles and like, you know, candles, cake candles and stuff like that, and you don't want them up in the attic because those will melt. It gets hot enough up there where the candles will melt. But like a lot of the other stuff that's just like, oh, we have extra like party tablecloths or, you know, like that kind of stuff, we can store that in the attic too. We don't have to keep that in the closet. And I think that like we can't even get sometimes to it just because of how much stuff is in that closet. And so I just feel like it'd be better if, again, we ended up actually storing that maybe in the attic instead. I don't know, we'll have to figure something out. But again, my brain's kind of turning right now with the whole organizing situation there. But that is our plan, to kind of, again, keep moving with our process and stuff like that. But I told you guys too, it's just like I especially too, I need like all elements of the house kind of organized organized, so that like I can know like, okay, are we going to permanently be storing this here? Are we going to be temporarily storing this here? Are we going to be doing, you know, again, whatever it kind of is along the lines of, you know, like our storage and organizing and all that kind of stuff. It's like, again, too, the you know, front hall closet, it's like, it's kind of messy, and I'd like to organize it up a little bit, and maybe that involves storing some things in the attic, which would have to be like permanent storage. But again, too, like some of Jack's things that, you know, like his drawing supplies, that will probably be moved down to his bedroom when he moves bedrooms downstairs, but temporarily that might be stuff that has to be stored in the attic, just again over the next couple months, or you know, something like that, until we're able to get him moved downstairs. So like I was telling you guys too, like some of that stuff, the things that he doesn't wind up using all the time, might have to be stored in a different parts of the attic for right now. So, and that would be like temporary storage we just need to do instead of like permanent storage. But anyways though, guys, yes, I am, like I said, I've been thinking about this, especially since Jack kind of actually brought it up to me. I'm surprised. He was kind of the one that was like, something in tomorrow, you know, like, can we maybe get moving on the stuff underneath my bed? And honestly, guys, I feel like, because I said something earlier today, I don't remember what it was, but I mentioned something about, like, I'm like, okay, like, where are we? Like, what are the next steps that we need to get done? And I know I'd mentioned to him, like, that he needed to kind of clean out underneath his bed, but then he brought up the fact to me, like, I don't know where some of this stuff goes. And I was like, okay, well, like, we can store that in the attic, like we already have bins for that. And he was like, oh, I had no clue. So but when I said that, then later he ended up coming to my room and he was like, do you think you could help me do that? And I was like, sure, like definitely, like, you know, since I know where everything's stored in the attic, I would be more of a help to him, instead of him spending 45 minutes trying to find where all the bins are for stuff that he's got to put in there and potentially putting them in the wrong bins. But because of that, you know, he was saying, you know, that he wanted my help, and I think that's because he really wants to get his own room, and he wants to get, you know, rooms moved around and everything like that. So like I said, I think that he is really looking forward to that right now, and I think that's why he wants to kind of keep the process moving. And even my mom too, she's been organizing her office, so again, we can get all of her stuff out of there so that Jack can go in there and he can, you know, again, we can move his bed in there for a temporary time while we're moving. You know, we have to move him out of there so that we can get all the upstairs stuff done and taken care of, and then we can move kind of, once that's done, everything else can happen afterwards. Because I told you guys too how we're ripping out the carpets, we're redoing the drywall. There's like a handful of things that are going to be done and taken care of upstairs, but we can't do all of that until we wind up, again, getting the bedrooms kind of moved around and the stuff out of there, especially too, because we cannot do a demo in a room where there's things. So again, we'll have to figure out how that's going to wind up working out. But we also got the garage too that we can use for like temporary storage also. And so long as there's nothing that's going to freeze outside, as long as we don't wind up taking into super late into the summer where it's going to be super hot, most things can kind of stay out in the garage, again, so long as they won't freeze. It's not like glass and liquids and, you know, that kind of stuff. We can store things also too out in the garage. So anyways, guys, I will see you all in tomorrow's vlog. They'll let you guys know about that process in tomorrow's vlog. But if you guys did enjoy today's, make sure you guys give a big old thumbs up. If you guys are new, we'd love if you'd subscribe, and I'll see all of your Centini pieces tomorrow. So bye, guys.